As big as this Saturday is, all the race meetings in Australasia will be run in the enormous shadow of a colossus of a man, Mike Moroney, passing away overnight, Wednesday into Thursday morning. His brother Paul joins us now. Paul, to you and the family and Karen and everybody else from us at Sport Nation and all of your friends around New Zealand, mate, condolences. I know it's been a really tough couple of days. I'm sure your phone has been going crazy with people saying the same type of stuff because the big fella was much loved.
Michael, thank you very much for that on behalf of the family. It has been a couple of pretty rough days. It was a shock to everybody. But, what's come out of it is just the huge outpouring of admiration, love and respect for Mike. As you go along, you realise your brother's doing well, and your brothers, and you've got each other's back, and you're going down your chosen path, and you're getting success and enjoying it. You don't sort of sit back and start giving yourself accolades or anything like that, and just to see that just huge outpouring and the tributes that are coming through from all corners of the globe for Mike is quite humbling as a family, and also and a massive combined tribute to Mike and the person that he was, both on and off the track.
Mate, when you and I spoke on Thursday, it hit me when you said 55 Group 1s. I know your brother was a great trainer, but 55 Group 1s is an enormous body of work. When you think about that and you think of all those great horses, and people are going to ask about Brew and Excellent, but there's also wonderful stories like Happy and You Know It and Tumbling Down. What do you think about when you think about what Mike was able to achieve, very much for your family, because the Moroneys are a very tight clan?
Yeah, well, as being well documented, we were brought up in a racing family with, especially mum's side of the family, the Caseys, who bred and raced a mare called Ladies Bridge, won the 1949 Great Northern Oaks in the family colours, the light blue, black sleeves. And funnily enough, that day was a black cap rather than the red cap. And, of course, Brew won the Melbourne Cup in similar colours, exactly the same colours. But it has been a family thing. And Mum's brother, Charlie Casey Jr., trained. He passed away very young, in his early 30s. And he had a couple of very good horses called Superfine and Supertime at the time when we were kids. And, we've got photos of us being on there. I think Superfine's back when I think there's a photo of Mike when he was about 3 years old. So that would have been in 1961, that photo would have been taken. He had always had an affinity with animals, so when he chose his vocation to be a horse trainer, or it just happened that way, I always believed he had it because he had a great affinity with animals, and he was quite particular in how he went about things. He got inside their heads. He planned ahead. That was one of his greatest attributes. He always planned ahead, and that was something that we did together a lot. We had the ability to go and source horses out of yearling sales and put them into a category and say that's a 2-year-old chance, that's an Oaks filly, that's a Cup horse, that's a Derby horse, and genuinely believe that that's what could happen, and have that belief and put the programs in place and work backwards. And I think that's had a lot to do with Mike's success. And he could bend and change quite easily, and he was always reading the horses, reading their mind, reading their physique, their eating habits, their training habits, and working around them as individuals. And while he got to a stage where he had upwards of 100 horses and worked at Matamata at one stage, or 3 different properties, he always had that hands-on approach in those days that he fed 4 times a day. He was at the stables himself, feeding up at 7 o'clock at night. He was the first one there in the morning, and, he just lived and breathed it and loved it, and it was his passion, and he became very good at it, and he had, what we call a sixth sense as far as horse training is concerned.
Paul, I would suggest that sometimes these days stables, when they get really big, have almost a business manager type attitude to training, but you have to be a pure horseman to train Happy and You Know It to win juvenile races, Excellent to win derbies, Second Coming, and obviously Brew in a Melbourne Cup first and third, and of course one of your favourites, Tumbling Down to win the 1989 Great Northern Steeplechase. That is an incredible breadth of work.
Yeah, it is. And, he's had champion 2-year-olds like Joker's Wild as well, and others, and sprinters that have won railways, your Lord Tridents and Canseas and horses like that. And he did get sort of pigeonholed more in Australia than anywhere, especially after the Melbourne Cup and winning some derbies as just a trainer of stayers. But, of course, he won Blue Diamond with True Jules the same year that Brew won the Melbourne Cup the same season, and that earned Mike the biggest accolade in training in Australia. He won the Fred Hoysted Medal, which is the most revered training prize, annual training prize in Australia. And, that was a huge achievement, the first New Zealander to ever, get that award. And just harking back on Tumbling Down, people probably find this a little bit weird, but that was Mike and my biggest thrill in racing when Tumbling Down won the 1989 Great Northern Steeplechase. We had a connection with the race for years. Our uncle Buzz Leggett, who was married to Mum's sister Veronica, he won the double on Smokebring in 1965, and that was the same weekend, Queen's Birthday weekend, that Mike turned 7 and I turned 5. It was a pivotal moment for us as to see the thrill that could be gained out of horse racing within our family, and it really did drive us on to become so crazily passionate about the industry. So that one was very special and all the work that goes into preparing a horse to run in a Great Northern Steeplechase, and we handpicked the horse to become that horse, and it happened. One of the first dreams that ever came true, and Mike was a bit of a dreamer, and you do dream, and when they come true, you celebrate, and it means a hell of a lot to you.
Paul, I had probably 100 conversations with your brother. I can never remember him raising his voice, either in excitement or anger or anything. He just always seemed to be very measured, but that's from afar. What was he like? You were probably the person in the world alongside Karen closest to him. What was your brother like?
He had a very long fuse. It took a lot to upset Mike Moroney. He was very calm, very collected. If probably anyone in the world could upset him, it was probably me. We were very close as brothers, but also very competitive, and we had mainly the same ideas, but not always. And and I think that's a brotherly thing. And when you're so close as Mike and I were, being brought up on a dairy farm, 2 years, 2 days apart in age, and just sharing the same passion and loving it and being competitive. I probably copped the short fuse at times from Mike, probably more than anybody else. But across the board, very gentlemanly, very calm, very collected, and always very thoughtful about processes. He was a great supporter of many, many people behind the scenes, and this has really come to light in the last few days that some people have contacted me personally by message or rung me, and I'm starting to be aware of the things Mike did behind the scenes to help young Kiwis who came to Australia and felt a little bit lost when they got here, and even in monetary terms, people when they were struggling, and that was the real mark and measure of Mike. He was always there. He had a great rapport with people, and all of his people that he needed to pay, he paid. And that was one thing that was not regular in racing. And, I've had people say to me, we always relied to get paid by Mike Moroney at the end of every month. And, as we know in this game, there's a lot of people come into it with big hopes and dreams that may not be able to afford the product, and people can get behind it, and it's one of the irks of training racehorses. But Mike always prided himself on his ability to look after people, make sure no one was left in the lurch because of anything that he may or may not do. And, that was a real credit to him.
Paul, do you have any details of when Mike will be remembered and laid to rest? Because obviously he has lived in Australia for a long time. He has so many friends and loved ones and admirers in New Zealand. Are there any details about that, or are they not to be made public?
Look, it's a bit sketchy at the moment, Mike, because the logistics of getting Mike back to New Zealand to be buried and his funeral there. That was his express wish that New Zealand's his home country and Matamata's his hometown, and that was his wish to be buried there. And we're working through the process at the moment, but it looks as though it could be delayed. There is some talk that Victoria Racing Club very kindly approached us on on Thursday evening to offer a memorial service at Flemington for Mike. So we're all off to the races today to watch his last Group 1 runner in the Australian Guineas. And we're all guests of the club today. Chad and Alicia over here, Alicia, Mike's daughter, and Karen, myself, Anthony Baracci is racing manager. Very kindly, Victoria Racing Club reached out to us, and we're all guests there today, and we'll be in discussion with them today about that. It's a possibility that there will be a memorial here in Melbourne first, and Mike's funeral in Matter maybe a week or two later, just depending on the logistics of getting the big fella's body back to New Zealand.
Mate, thank you, Paul, for talking to us, letting us know more about your brother. Our condolences to Karen, to Alicia, to everybody involved, of course, to your mum. So, mate, thanks for sharing the big brother with us, and we'll try and keep people updated in time about when that memorial or funeral, in fact, could be held, mate. But, yeah, I hope the next couple of days goes as smoothly as it can, and not that it matters too much, but we hope for the best of luck on the track as well.
Thanks very much, Michael. Appreciate it.